Now we're going to do a meditation called Clarifying the Sense of Self. Take a moment to let your body settle. Drop your jaw and feel relaxation spreading from that over your head and face. And as you breathe in, be aware of your chest and shoulders and back stretching upwards. And then as you breathe out, feel the chest settle, and then the shoulders settle, and then the back settle. And let the relaxation spread over the front of your torso, down your arms, into your hands, and over your back. And also be aware of the legs being still, while at the same time being aware of the relaxation in your face so that the whole body feels settled and still. And for a moment, focus on the pleasant sensation of that global relaxation. Now be aware. Feelings are arising within your body. Thoughts are arising within your mind. Sights and sounds are arising from your surroundings. Even with your eyes closed, there may be some light, some visual impact. Some sense of surrounding space and seeing your situation. And certainly sounds are present. And perhaps even smell and taste. Be aware of the flow of your senses. Hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, the feeling body and the thinking mind. These are the 6 doors of perception. We're going to analyze the moment-by-moment flow of experience that comes through these 6 doors of perception. in terms of two categories. Those aspects of your experience that you consider to be your sense of self, and those aspects of experience that you consider to be other. The sense of self will probably involve certain kinds of thoughts and feelings. The sense of other will involve sights and sounds, but also certain kinds of thoughts and feelings you may perceive as relating to other rather than yourself. In terms of these two categories, there are no absolutes. Whatever you choose to call self is what self is for you at that moment. Whatever you choose to call other is other for you at that moment. But I'd like you to, moment by moment, analyze your experience with clarity into these two fundamental categories. And if you're not sure, a guess is okay. The borders of the categories may be nebulous. That's okay. But at any given moment, there are only three possibilities as far as your experience goes. You will either find that you are only aware of your sense of self, or that you are only aware of a sense of other, or that you are simultaneously aware of the arising of both self and other. When you hear a sound, in that moment there may be just the sound that would be other. When you become self-conscious, in that moment there may be just self-consciousness, the sense of an observer, a controller, a will. Then that would be only the sense of self. Or it could happen that at the very instant you hear a sound, you're also aware of a you hearing the sound. Self and other arising simultaneously. There is no preference between these three situations. Each is as good as the other one is. Let your awareness freely float within the sensory field. And when it seems that you're pulled to a perception of what is other than you, say to yourself, other. When you're pulled into a sense of yourself, say self. And if you are aware of both arising at the same time, say to yourself the word both. You may be primarily aware of self or other, or it may be primarily both at the same time. The purpose of this step in the meditation is to merely clarify what the natural flow pattern is at this time. And when the sense of self arises, accept that sense of self. Try not to interfere with it. Infuse it with clarity and gentleness. And likewise, when the sense of other arises, do the same. Now, if you find that the labeling gets in the way, feel free to drop it. But be aware. At any given moment, there are only 3 possibilities, and they are mutually exclusive and exhaustive. You will either be experiencing a sense of self with no other, or a sense of other with no self, or both arising as a single arising simultaneously. At each transition, each new self, each new other, each new both, relax into it, open up to it. The job is very simple. Just be clear about the configuration of consciousness with respect to these categories moment by moment. And at each transition in the categories, relax into it, open up to it, and let it happen. Let nature take its course. We're going to move to another phase, one of selective attention. Focus only on the sense of other. for a little while ignoring the sense of self, even though it may arise very strongly. Try to keep a continuous awareness on just that aspect of experience that would be other, although it may be a different other each moment. A sound now, a sight then. It may be a sound now, and then it may be a sight. And then it may be a memory, but a memory of something other than you. The other is constantly arising. The great majority of the universe is other. Now, let go of that and focus as much as possible continuously only on your sense of self, whatever it may be that produces that. Those thoughts, those feelings. That you perceive of as self. The sense of observer, the sense of controller, the sense of will, the sense of an experiencer, moment by moment. Stay continuous with that, ignoring anything that arises that would seem to be other, to the best of your ability. Let go of that exclusive focus on the sense of self And once again allow the awareness to freely float through the sensory field. And observe how when you're pulled to the sense of other, the sense of self may a little bit. And when you're pulled to the sense of self, the sense of other may weaken a little bit. And if you're able to detect that, go with it. When you're pulled to the sense of other, let the so-called other expand. And be willing to let the sense of self contract at the same time. When you're pulled to the sense of self, unblock it. Don't fight with it. Don't tighten around it. Let the sense of self expand. And the sense of other contract. Expansion simply means allowing it to get large and clear. Contraction simply means allowing it to get small and faint. And if both arise at the same time, then relax into that experience. And let the sense of self and other arise as a single unity, not necessarily separate. Let go of that, and once again, try to focus as continuously as possible on just the sense of self. Selectively attend to that. And be aware. The sense of self usually involves both feeling and thinking, both body sensation and concept. See if you can detect moment by moment what part of your sense of self consists of feeling, body, and what part of your sense of self consists of thought, mind. And relax into the states of mind and body that produce the sense of self. Try to let them flow without inhibition. Continue to do that. And be aware how this sense of self may change moment by moment. It may get stronger, it may get weaker. It may shift, like looking at a picture from different angles. Same face, but it looks different. And become fascinated with the dynamic or changing qualities of the sense of self. The change may be very subtle. Each new arising of will, of control, of self-image, the sense of a doer, the sense of a perceiver, are constantly shifting, albeit perhaps subtly. Become so fascinated with the subtle ways in which the sense of self may change that you become less fixated on the sense of self as a thing, and begin to experience it more as an activity, a flow, a wave rather than a particle. Energy rather than matter, a verb rather than a noun.